Okay, I'm gonna tell y'all a little story here, and I don't know any other way to do it except just talk rather than trying to text it all out. But this point right here has a lot of significance to it, and it's the only point that I haven't found in the dirt, whether digging or scouring the surface or a creek. I don't buy points, I don't sell points, I found them. The process itself is meaningful to me, and a big part of that is because of my dad, whom I've never met. I found my dad when I was 16, I talked to him a little bit on the phone, and throughout the years, he's just lived a wild life. I mean, I grew up with stories of him going out in the Everglades for 2 weeks at a time and finding whole megalodons, and some of the artifacts that he has found has, from what I hear from several in the artifact community, especially in Central Florida, that he's a legend, and that his hands are like plank board, just leathered and calloused over. He also played the guitar, which is what you hear playing. There's just so many stories that I've heard about his way of life that I don't necessarily choose to follow a step, but he is the reason why I go out in the woods. He is the reason why I hunt. And so when I'm searching those arrowheads, it's more meaningful than finding something that's of monetary value. It's finding something that, and essentially that I've always been looking for, you know. And here recently, my dad has been entered in the National Missing Persons Database, and in an effort to make that connection or add more to the story of my relationship with my dad, I've gotten involved. And so I've went 40 years without seeing any of that side of the family, and to the point where in a matter of days I'm picking up a sister that I never met, and I'm going down south, and I'm meeting some of my cousins, and we're all, you know, working together with the local community and the sheriff's department. But I had an opportunity to meet my Uncle Tommy. Uncle Tommy and Cecil were paid by a company out of France to map out the Peace River. And Tommy knows the Peace River, but even he'll tell you that Cecil knows it better than anybody. He knows it like the back of his hand. And that's where Cecil was living. He was living on the Peace River. And all he did was hunt shark's teeth and artifacts. And I got to go, the night before me and Tommy went on the river, I got to go sit in Tommy's house, and I got to look at some of the most amazing artifacts that I've ever seen, my uncle. And he let me hold them in my hand. It was phenomenal. But he told me something. He said that I want to give you something that belonged to your dad. And he gave me this point here. And if you know anything about points, then you know this is a very fine artifact piece. They grade these points, you know, on how straight the edges are and the crafting and the symmetrics. And this is a fine point. It's the best point I have. And my Uncle Tommy said, "This is a valuable point." And I said, "Sure," just agreeing with him. And he said, "No, son, there's people that'll kill you over this point." And I didn't find it in the dirt. I didn't dig for it. But I did have to, you know, jump through some hoops and get over any apprehension or whatever might have been there. And so I went on a little bit of a different journey rather than simply going to the woods and digging a hole. But it took me all the way to South Florida searching for my dad and meeting family that I've never met and learning more about my dad in 2 days than I've learned over my whole life. But that's not the end of the story. We scoured the river all day Sunday. All in all, we got off the river knowing that Monday morning we were all getting back to what we had to get back to, work and our lives, and Cecilia going back to Alabama and me going back to the Panhandle. One of the things that struck our interest was at the local convenience store there in Bowling Green, about a mile away from the boat ramp where me and Tommy had launched. The cashier had mentioned that Cecil had talked to her about going to Sarasota, and they even talked about how to get there, directions. And so we went back up there to the store twice that day and talked to them about that, just to see, how did Cecil sound? Did he seem like he was serious about that? And we determined that it was definitely something that needed to be looked into. And the Hardy County Sheriff's Department certainly had a couple of other interests and leads that they were following, but the family did push for them to make contact with Sarasota authorities. And so that evening, with us knowing that Monday morning we were waking up and we were going home, they put out an APB or a BOL. And sure enough, about 5 a.m. that Monday morning, Cecilia got a call from the detective that Cecil had been found.